Yep, it will be streaming on Twitter and the YouTube.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, people have started joining. Welcome, guys. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing great. And thank you so much for joining us today for the another series of the workshop, which we are going to have with the graph. So we will be waiting 1 more minute to join the other people so they don't miss out some important start of the workshop, right? So yeah, we are already towards up, and I see people have been started joining. And I think let's just get started with the introduction. So by that time, I think that we'll have enough audience here. Um, all right. So hello everyone. Thank you so much once more time to for joining us today. And we are going to start the another series of a workshop with the graph, and I'm really excited for this series of the workshops. And we have been doing this workshop like every week on Thursday on the probably on the same time. We are early today, but I'm Nidhi Nakrani from the DevRel team at Metis, and I'm really excited about this session because uh, we are going to dive to see the basics mostly into something super useful for anyone who's building on-chain apps. So we are going to see subgraphs and the graph with the graph. I mean, so if you have ever built a dApp and found yourself struggling with to pull the data efficiently, then or just wanted to make your app feel more responsive and user friendly, this workshop is for you. So special thanks to Marcus Rein, DevRel at the Graph, who is going to be with us today and most probably on the next workshops as well. So welcome, Mark, and was going to be very who is like instrumental in being, helping devs understand and implement subgraphs effectively at the graph. So we are going to keep this session engaging, informative, and builder focused for sure. So feel free to drop your questions during the live stream, and feel free to leave your feedback, suggestions, anything in the comment section, as well as you can reach out to us on the Metis Telegram community, as well as the graph. So welcome everyone, welcome Marcus as well. um, I will hand over to Marcus for the introduction from his side, because I'm pretty sure that he will be able to do like more effectively than I have did. So to you.
No, you did great. That was a great introduction. Thank you, Nidhi. And nice to see you again. And then also, hi, everyone in the Metis community. I've been with EdgeNode for 2.5 years now, and really been in the ecosystem of the graph for 4 years. EdgeNode is a core development team working on building the graph. And we're going to learn about subgraphs today. So my job is to teach subgraphs, have developers understand the power of subgraphs and understand really the underlying infrastructure behind it a little bit as they get going, because that's a part of the entire package. So great to be here, and I'm really happy to share.
Yeah, yeah, happy to like I'm personally very interested for this workshop, as it's more about the dApp and for the devs who are building dApp on the Metis. So let me ask, I do have like few questions in my mind,
Sure.
like when we say, like, let's just start simple. So what exactly is a self graph, like in your own words? Like why should any dApp builder on a Metis care about it?
Sure. It's a highly customizable API. Yeah. So that's that in the short of a sentence is
Yeah.
that. It is a highly customizable API, and the infra behind it is decentralized as an option. Yeah, there's a way that you can say a subgraph, if you would like to have that endpoint that you're always accessing be decentralized as opposed to one centralized indexer. It could be going to an entire network of databases that are available to you. And so that really is the power of a subgraph. Not only is it an API, it's very customizable. And not only is it just an API, but it's a decentralized API. It has the option to become decentralized, which is really cool.
I see. So, why would I need a subgraph in my tab? Like, can I just get data from the blockchain directly, or like, what could be the like very basic, simple use case in my tab? That why would I need a subgraph in my tab? Like, for someone like who is totally new to subgraph, who is totally new to Metis, like, what would you explain in your terms?
Yeah, great question. And if you wanted to get data directly from chain, there's nothing wrong with that. There's libraries that you can make calls to an RPC node. Essentially, you're making a call directly to the blockchain and you're getting the data directly back. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that doesn't scale very well and sometimes is not the most responsive. It's just the way RPCs work. So when you need to have essentially a cache, a database of data that's just readily available and organized in a very specific way that might be abstracted from the smart contracts organization, that's when subgraphs come into play, where you can say, hey, we've got this smart contract that's getting a lot of attention. There's a lot of people interacting with my dApp. There's actually a lot of traffic on my application, which is amazing. The problem is now you have a lot of data and you need that organized maybe in a different way than what you have in the smart contract. And that's where subgraphs come in, where you can say, hey, now we're interested in getting that data in an organized way provided to the front end. And I need that to be customizable. I need that to be upgradable, and not only customizable, upgradable, but possibly even decentralized. That's a really cool asset where
Yeah,
not just the state of your smart contract is decentralized, where you have it on chain, which is great, but
yeah.
the ability to read from that data, essentially make that data performant for the front end, that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, as you mentioned that it always hard to get like data in your smart contract directly from the blockchain, and yeah, that's where the graph helps and makes data easier to work with, right? So, um,
Mhm.
one more question before we jump to the direct, like two more questions, I guess. So,
Sure.
what is the difference between querying data from a smart contract versus using subgraph?
Mhm. So how is it different?
Yeah, how's the
Yeah.
difference? Like, what's the difference between querying data from the smart contract versus using subgraph directly?
Sure. Yeah. So if you query data from the smart directly to the smart contract,
Smart
you're gonna
contract.
yeah doing you're doing a call, basically like
Yeah,
using Ethers is a library that's very
yeah,
popular to call directly to the blockchain, and you'll get the data back, and it's
yeah,
directly as it is on the blockchain. And so that's
yeah,
nice. To, essentially, it's like almost like a curl, just sending that call out there and getting the return. That's nothing wrong with that. Uh, the queries sent to a subgraph, you'll have a specific endpoint, and we'll go through this in the demonstration. It's called GraphQL. It's a query language, and I really like it. You send that query to this endpoint, and that endpoint is where your database is located. And that database, like I said, might be decentralized. That query goes to a gateway, which then goes to all of the different databases out there. They're organized by these indexers that are indexing all these databases.
yeah.
And the most performant indexer out there that has responsibility of these databases is the one that gets that query. And actually, there's a GRT token that actually is running and incentivizing all of this. There's an operational token called GRT, which pretty much functions as the fuel to this entire protocol.
Yeah, amazing. So, like, do I need like imagine like I'm a very new to everything like dApp, not a dApp, but to the subgraph. So, do I need to know advanced coding level to build a subgraph, or like what things I should be knowing? Like, let's say I don't know anything about the subgraph, but I know about the blockchain. I know about the
Sure.
building dApps.
Mhm.
at like, let's say, intermediate level, then what do you think, like, do I need like advanced level of coding? Like, what should be the, prerequisites?
Yeah, well, I'd say right now, no. I mean, that the power of AI right now, the ability to
Yeah.
really just, do very well is very impressive. So I would say no. And your job as a developer is to hop in and just learn as best you possibly can with the workshop that we're going to have here. The
Yeah.
CLI spins up a lot of what you have already. You don't have to worry too much, where you can say, hey, I just want to index this smart contract and all of the events, and I don't really care about anything else beyond just the events right now. The CLI does that all automatically for you. And so that's really nice. Where it becomes more advanced is where you really want to think about rearranging the database and other features that are quite extensive. There's going to be a workshop that I do in another week with Metis and you, that we get into a little bit more advanced
More
features.
advanced.
Yeah, more advanced features.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just simply going to have a little
Basic.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna build with the CLI today. We're gonna index a Meta smart contract, and then we're gonna call it a day.
All right. So, without wasting a more time, I think we should jump to the like. I should hand over to you. So,
Mhm.
um, handing over to you. Feel free to share your screen and let's get started, like the practical thing, and let's see.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drop this in chat right now. Hi, everyone in chat. How's it going, Mohammed? How you doing? I'm just dropping this in chat, and let's see. Comment has failed. Anyways, I will send it to you. Maybe you can
Yeah.
share with everybody.
Yeah.
But this is a great starting point to get going with subgraphs. And we're going to go ahead and go through a little bit of a workshop, just a few slides to kind of understand the infrastructure, and then we're just going to get right into building. So I don't want to do too many slides, because slides can be, slides are slides.
I'm not sure if
Uh,
it's like I have done. Oh, let me just show it to the screen. So, all
okay.
right.
Can you see my screen now?
Yep, it's on the
Okay,
live
cool.
stream. So, yep.
Awesome. I can't see if
Yeah,
anybody, if anyone's chatting right now and asking questions. I can't see right now. I can only see what you're seeing on the slides. So
I'll let you know. I'll
uh,
let you know if there's any question.
perfect. So yeah, quick start to subgraph development and querying, and we're gonna get just to understand more of this concept that we just gently talked about. If you have any questions, of course, reach out to me on Twitter. It's Marcus_Rein_, and I'm happy to chat at any time. So what we're going to do is do a quick introduction of what is the graph, what are subgraphs, and then we're going to build a subgraph together, and we'll go from there. We might get to number 4, we might not. I think we're just going to 1, 2, and 3 is going to be our main focus today. So like I said, this is the graph where this is the tagline: access the world's blockchain data. And that's what we really like to do. And to access this, we have to be able to access the data in a way that is just really programmatic. How can we do it in an organized fashion? So I like to look at data storage of a smart contract essentially as a bunch of data in a CSV. That's my brain looks. It just literally listed right out. That's essentially what we're looking at getting, and we're looking at historical data. Really, like what happened and when, how did it happen, who interacted with this certain information, and then from there we could do some cool stuff, analytics, dashboards, a lot of cool stuff with this data. So we have to look into the past. We have to get that data from the past, and we have to put it into databases and then access it and push that to our front end. And that's really what we have with the graph. And so we kind of talked about this in the introduction, where the blockchain very much has always been writing data, and we need to be able to read that data in a performative way. And so you need to be able to get that front end to have the data go in to and write to the blockchain, and then come out and go to back to the front end. And that's really important. So there's lots of centralized solutions out there where you can have all this data organized in a centralized way, and you get that data from the blockchain to your front end. That's great. However, we run into the same type of issues with centralization, and we really like to have a better solution, and that really is the graph, where you have decentralized indexers around the world who are providing that data to your front end. And if any of them should go out for whatever reason, let's say there's power outage or something like that, you have backups. And that's really why we like blockchain so much, and why we also like the decentralized indexing of the graph so much. So that really is the infrastructure of that, where we can really build decentralized apps. And I think that goes through really quickly in like just a minute or two of what the graph is doing every day under the hood. Now let's go ahead and build one of those APIs that I was talking to you about, like a subgraph, essentially. And let's see how that's done. So we'll just go ahead and get started with thegraph.com. Any questions so far? Nidhi, feel free to just throw them out. Like I said, I can't see.
Yeah, I
But,
see. Yeah, I'll
any
definitely yeah, cut you if we have any questions in the comment section. We
cool.
are good
All
till
right.
now.
Okay, let's get going. So we'll go to products, and we'll go to Subgraph Studio. And this is where we go ahead and have a studio environment to develop a subgraph and say, hey, it's time to go ahead and hop in and build. And so let's go ahead, sign message. There we go. Okay, so we're going to create a subgraph. This is what you guys would do. This is the dashboard. And so a lot of subgraphs are here that I've created. And there's API keys, there's billing, there's more docs, just to get you guys familiar with this. Think of this like, when you're in YouTube and you want to like upload a video and you can see all the videos. This is all private. This is my dashboard. No one can see this. And I'm in the studio where I can tinker and do it safely with a centralized endpoint that we provide for free and allows for developing and iterating. This is not on the network. This is not a public endpoint just yet. So here we are. And Metis demo subgraph, and we'll create the subgraph, and it drops us in, and here we're into the actual Metis demo subgraph dashboard itself. This information we have here, if we want to make this endpoint eventually public, we can. So it does help to have a description, the source code, the GitHub, essentially, of how we built the subgraph and share it with other developers, the website where we are pushing this data to. That's all good. We could have this be organized. And essentially, when we publish this subgraph, it would go to thegraph.com. Explorer. These are all subgraphs that have public endpoints. And these are on the graph network. They have indexers around the world that are indexing these. We have this Camelot subgraph here with 10 plus indexers. How many indexers are on this? There's a lot of indexers on this. And so they're all decentralized. All of these different indexers are responsible for this exact API. And they're all being incentivized for this. But we're not going to go there just today, just kind of give you guys an introduction of this. We're just simply going to be building in this smaller area in the Subgraph Studio, and we're not going to go to the Graph Network. This is all private. So let's get started. Of course, we're going to select a network, and we're going to go to Metis. There we go. Let's see, Metis testnet. Metis. Where is it here? Oh boy. I'm not seeing on the front end right now. It should be there, but I'll reach out to the front end team. That's interesting. Anyways, we're just going to go ahead. The cool thing with this process, though, as this is getting integrated with the front end right now, what I would say is this exact same process that we are doing is going to be the same. It's chain agnostic, regardless of the chain. So with Metis and building a subgraph on Metis, it's the exact same for being able to build it on really any chain. It's the same process, same underlying technology. The smart contract I always like to go to, and really the smart contract that I like to index very much so, is the CryptoPunks subgraph and the CryptoPunks smart contract, just to get going there. I think that's just good for education right now because the front end needs to be updated. So we'll go to Ethereum right now. It's the same thing for Metis once this gets plugged in. And then you'll do a graph install CLI, and you could install globally. I have NPM on my computer, and we'll do this together. And I actually have a cursor open here, and just install globally the graph CLI. And from there, we'll go ahead and keep on spinning this up. All right. Okay. All right. So next, after that has been installed, you're going to initialize the subgraph, graph init, right here. Boom. And in this, once everything is updated, we're going to have Metis in this list right here. I'll reach out to the team. But right now, we'll just say Ethereum mainnet, just because we're going to go to CryptoPunks. And we'll do a smart contract. Is this big enough? Is that reasonable? Let's make that a little bigger for
Yeah, that's good.
That's better? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll make it a smart contract. You could also take a substream and push, we'll pull that data into a subgraph, and possible to actually have a subgraph and pull that data into another subgraph. So there's lots of different options to pull data from. The smart contract is what we're going to focus on today. Like I said, this is highly customizable. So this is meant to just get people started. Think of this as just smart contracts today. We're not going to go into substreams or other subgraphs today. So there we go. Smart contract. The subgraph slug is the demo, and directory. That's totally fine. And now we get the contract address. So let's go to Etherscan, and we'll type in CryptoPunks. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So all we got to do is get the contract address and just drop it into the CLI. Boom. And it's going ahead and getting the ABI, it's getting the start block, it's getting the contract name. If that is not responsive, that's simply the Explorer not responding. So it's sending a call to, sending a query to that endpoint and getting that data back. And if that's not coming back, you actually got to go to the Explorer and get that data back. And if you are able to populate that, that's great. And if it's getting the response back, we'll get it here. So start block automatically populates. That's where you essentially, that's the deployment block of the smart contract. And it doesn't help to get the start block from Genesis block all the way until, current block, because that's a lot of potential blocks that the subgraph would have to go through. And we're avoiding that by getting the start block. And then we have the contract name, which we drop into here. Index contracts events as entities. This is the cool part. And essentially, contract events are like logs. You're getting logs from everything that's happened in your smart contract, and you're converting those into entities in the subgraph itself. So that's the database within the subgraph, and that database is going to be accessible by the endpoint that will be created. So that's the scaffolding out. That's really cool. And we'll keep on going. Any questions so far?
No, we are going good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So we can add another contract if we want. There can be many smart contracts within the same subgraph. As long as they're on the same chain, you could do 2, 3, 10, 1,000, whatever you'd like within that subgraph. And so we'll say no at this point, and we're ready to go. So you do graph auth to authenticate with your deploy key. You can get your deploy key if you've never authenticated before. You can get that right here. I'm not going to authenticate because what you're doing is authenticating your local computer to communicate with the graph itself. And so I don't need to do that. And I also don't want to show the key on the live stream. So I'm not going to do that. And the next thing you could do is just CD into the subgraph itself. And from there, we just say yarn deploy. That is what we have to do to deploy the subgraph. We'll give a version. You could put really any number in there. And it's compiling it here. And from there, we got an error. What do we got here? Oh, no. What are we seeing? This is a new error. Oh, we're having an IPFS issue. Sometimes IPFS bonks with us. That is what we're having. What we'll try to do here, we'll do yarn code gen. This might happen. Code gen and...
Are we connecting with the IPFS? Like, if yes, then for what reason? And if no, then why we get this error? Like, if you can
There we go.
explain.
Yeah, that's a great question. So essentially, let's try this again on deploy. The subgraph needs IPFS to send its data there we go. We had to actually code gen and code build, so we're fine. Let's back up a little bit so we understand the infrastructure. Why is IPFS involved? When we are building a subgraph, we need a way to essentially alert all of the indexers on the graph network about the subgraph that is being built. And so once they have essentially the high-level overview of the subgraph, then they could actually index the data within the subgraph itself. Now, it's broadcasted essentially through IPFS, just 1 or 2 files just to get going. And we use IPFS as a standard location for a lot of indexers around the world to be aware of this API that we are building. Now, in this time, we're not actually publicly going ahead and doing what's called publishing. We can see it's indexing right now, and we have progress. It's already on its way. We're not going to put this to the Graph Network just yet. That's the publish button. We're in this development environment, but the data is out there. Like, we're actually on IPFS, and if someone wants to find it, they totally could. This data is just simply not being shared in the Explorer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For the most part, just think of it like
Yeah.
we put it to IPFS to broadcast the structure of the subgraph should this subgraph become a public endpoint.
I see.
Hopefully,
Yeah. Thank
it
you,
makes
Nidhi.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
good
it
question.
does. I mean, yeah. If you guys like audience, if you have any question on this, please feel free to drop on the comment section. We would
Yep,
love to hear
yep.
your questions.
Yes, please drop any comments and questions. And what
Yeah.
I did there earlier is I'll just talk about the commands I did. I did graph codegen. In a previous build, in an older version of the CLI, you could just say yarn deploy, and it would automatically, under the hood, do yarn codegen, or excuse me, graph codegen and graph build independently. But this new one does not do that. So you actually have to manually do this, which I think is actually a better development experience, just if you understand these commands. But graph codegen, what that does is it looks for all of the different definitions in the database that you have created and connects them to the transformations, the handlers, essentially. And so we'll go through that in a little bit, but graph codegen gets that connected really nicely. And oh, I misspelled it, graph codegen. Oh, nice. That's a new feature. It actually corrects you.
Yeah.
Did you mean codegen? That's nice. And so that's there. And then graph build is, of course, building it and getting it ready to be pushed out there as bytes, which is really nice. So those are the 2 commands. Let's go into the main files of this. As this is indexing, we can see right now we're getting some entities. Entities are the items in the database. We have those little objects in the database, and every one of these are events that have been emitted from the blockchain. And so we're getting blockchain data right now into our subgraph. And if we just send a query to it, we're getting this data. And that's exactly it. This is a GraphQL query right here. It's being sent to an endpoint right here. We have the development query URL. Boom, it's being sent to this, all in this playground. And then we're getting the data returned right here. And we're seeing this JSON object right here. So we could play around with queries. We could have a good time. We can see all of the different events that have these names. These are all the different entities in our database that are created by the codegen. We had the codegen create all the stuff in our code. And then from here, we have the actual database items in there, and we could send the queries right through here. So any questions on this before I move into the code itself, or should we stay here?
No question from my side, and no question in the comment section as well.
Okay. This will make more sense once I go to the code a little bit. This will make much more sense. Let's go to the code and lay out the 3 most important files of this. And yes, it says CryptoPunks, and this is the same exact strategy with any smart contract that you will spin up. So we have that, and then we also have the schema. Okay, so these are the 3 that we want to look at. Subgraph.yaml, the file that's in the src folder. This is what we call as a mappings file, and it renames to the name of the smart contract. So this is CryptoPunks Market. That's the name of the smart contract, but we just call it the mappings file. It maps data. And then we have the database itself. This is the database shape in the schema.graphql. So we'll go through this high-level overview. What are we looking at? We essentially have a smart contract right here. And this is what we published, this we put in the CLI. and it has the ABI in there as well, and it has the name of it, has a start block. Just think of this subgraph.yaml as like a high-level overview of what we're doing. And this is already populated through the CLI, so there's nothing what we really have to do here. I'm just introducing you to this. And we have these entities. These entities are in our subgraphs database. We're just naming these entities in this subgraph.yaml. We have the assign entity, the transfer entity, the punct transfer entity, all of these different entities. And these are entities that have the same naming as the events that are coming from this smart contract. We have the sign event, we have the transfer event, the punct transfer event. These are all the events that our subgraph was able to find by going to the actual smart contract itself, getting the events, and then it names the exact database entities the exact same name. So it's really one-to-one passing that event into the entity in the database. And then between this point, you have the actual assign event here going into the assign entity in the database. There's a handler. And so what do we want to do with that event data? Do we want to handle it and do anything unique in a certain way? We totally can. We don't have to, but we can. We have a handler that we just built. And so this is the handle assign handler, which is great. And we'll go into that in the next file here. So do you have any questions about this, where essentially we have an event coming from the chain, it triggers this handler to fire, and then after that, it goes into the database. Any questions about that?
No.
Cool. No questions are a good thing. That means I'm doing my job. Good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go right into how we handle. Let's keep on going through this assign event, and we can go ahead and see what's going on here. So there it is. We have the handle assign event. And this is the handler in the mappings file that triggers anytime an event is passed to it of the type. It's an assign event that is being, that's the type of this event that's coming through here into this handler, and it triggers, boom. We go ahead and anything from the chain that is of the type assign event gets passed into this, and we have logic that is going through. We have an entity in our database being created, and we have a new assign type, a new assign type coming through here, and we pass in this bit of detail. This detail right here is the ID of the entity itself. So if we're thinking, hey, we're creating a new entity on our database, we got to give that entity an actual ID. This is the ID, and it automatically does it for us. It takes the transaction hash and it concatenates that with the log index, and this comes through as a bytes in the bytes type, as you can see right here. It returns a bytes type. Create a new byte array, and from there we're able to go ahead and have an ID for the exact location of the exact database entry here. And all we're doing next here after we have this created is we pass in the event data. We have all of this event data. So if you can see, it's highlighted, all of this event data coming through event. We have the to piece of data. We have the punct index, and we pass that directly into our database. We have the to, we have the punct index. We're just passing in data. And then we save that entity in our database. Boom, it's one-to-one. And here we can be super creative. If we want to, we can go ahead and take all of this and say, hey, we have all of this event data coming in here. We could look at this event data. We could look at this event data, and we could start doing different types of transformations. We could do everything from computations, logical operators, enums. There's a lot of things that we can do here. We can go into essentially anything that you would like to think of in terms of how you want to handle this data and bring it into our database. This is where the creativity lives. Any questions on this so far?
I do have I noticed we are creating a unique ID using the transaction hash and log index, right? So why is that important? Like when saving data in a subgraph?
Sure. So this is a location in our data and in our database, and anything that we store in our database needs to have an ID, and that ID ideally is lightweight, which is bytes. Bytes is very performant, and that ID is unique. And what we have here is something that's quite unique, where we have the transaction hash concatenated with the log index. So that's going to be a big old random, whatever that is. And then this concat method right here converts that into bytes. So what we have is an incredibly unique, incredibly lightweight ID that optimizes the database itself for speed. And that's a great question, because these subgraphs are really meant for speed. And if you, let's just say we just make this ID 1, that's not going to actually compile because I have to update the subgraph. But let's just say, for argument, we make it a number, a string, and we just say it's 1. That's not as low level as bytes. That's going to be much slower for indexing. That's going to be a problem for if we send a query to the subgraph, that's not going to be organized well. If any viewers out there don't know about databases and how important speed is, this is
Yeah,
a great example of that, where the ID of the entity in the database needs to be lightweight and unique. And the best way to do that is with bytes, honestly. This really, makes sure it's quite unique as well. So this does it automatically for you. If you do
yeah,
need more custom IDs for whatever reason, let's say this is a PostgreSQL database, by the way, that we're going into. If more unique IDs are needed that are specific to, let's say you are merging this database with another database, you are totally able to use, whatever naming system that you would like to have for these IDs. But just know, if it's not bytes, it's likely going to be slowing down the subgraph.
I see. So I mean, like that this is something like developers always need to do. Like they don't always need to do, right? Like the graph handle most of the, like some of it automatically, right?
This was all created by the CLI. I didn't
I
do
see.
any of this. So yeah, you could see all of this. So if it's essentially just looks at the smart contract as it is, looks at all of the events coming from it, and from there scaffolds the whole thing out.
I
So
see.
it's all done for you. When I did that graph CLI command in the terminal right here, this is where it all spun it up. And so this is the compiling, write compile. This is doing it all behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, yeah, if it's all doing automatically.
Yeah. To give you an idea of the customizability of the .com Explorer, the customizability that's possible, let's go to this subgraph. This was created by a friend of mine. Where is it? Do we have it here? Where is it? I think Jerry, did he take it down? There's this it. I think this might be the one. He might have changed the actual name of it. Is this the one? Let's go to GitHub. And this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. So if you want to see in terms of what the mappings can do, remember we're in the mappings. That's where the transformations. This is the CryptoPunks market, where, remember I said we could be very creative right here. Like we could say, this is essentially, we're just passing data in our subgraph. But if we want to get really advanced, we can do that. And let's just go to this mapping file. And we can see what this developer has done. And they have multiple mappings files doing a lot of creativity. So feel free to look at all the different things that a more extended subgraph can do. And I like to look at this kind of way of thinking, of saying, hey, like if a person is indexing this subgraph and this smart contract right here, they're indexing this smart contract, and this is the most basic way to get creative with this data. This is the most potentially advanced way to get creative with this data, and kind of be inspired in a way to say, hey, this is mappings and all the different transformations. Why would they do this? You could just Control A, copy paste into ChatGPT, and just kind of learn, like, why would they be doing this? What transformations are they doing to the data? How are they getting it ready to go into the database? This is where a lot of learning can happen, which I think is a really cool opportunity to say, hey, I've got a basic punk transfer event, and what could I do with this in a creative way? Go ahead and look at another person that has built a subgraph that's more extended. That's totally cool. Good way to learn. So let's go into the database itself. So we've gone from a high level overview to kind of transforming that data in this file. And now we're going to subgraph.graphql. This is where the information is being stored. And we can see right here, we'll stick with the assign entity. We have the ID that we talked about a lot, where it has a bytes type. We have the 2 and the punc index. And right here, we can see the 2. Where is the assign? We're at the very top. We have the 2 in our database. We have the punc index. And there we are. We have the 2 and the punc index. And that's where it's being stored. And from here, if you want to get a little bit more like seeing how powerful subgraphs can be, every single subgraph event that comes through will always have some metadata that comes through every event. We will know the block number in which the event was emitted, the block timestamp in which the event was emitted, and the transaction hash that actually triggered the event's emission. So those are a part of every single piece of the database, which is really nice. And from there, you have your endpoint. So if you see assign right here, let's go to the assign. Let's go to here. And you see right here, the assign. There it is. So this assign right here is the assign right here in our database. Schema.graphql, database, assign. This is represented right here as assign. So if we send a query to this endpoint in this playground or at our API endpoint, we will get the same data back. Any questions about that before I move on?
Not now.
No? Cool. Awesome. Let's go ahead and dive in a little bit into GraphQL. Essentially, every single entity ever created in GraphQL in this database, you notice it's assign, not assigns. All right. When you're creating a database, it needs to be in the singular. It needs to be singular, because if you send a query to this exact, let's say there's one assigned entity, that is only going to have one ID. So if you actually fold this open right here, it asks and requires an ID of that exact entity in the database. That's not exactly useful. For 99% of the work that I'm doing all the time, you typically want a lot of data. So you want plural, you want assigns, and that tells you we're looking for all of the assign events that have ever occurred, and therefore all of the entities that are of the type assign, and that's the plural. So now let's say we want the first 100 assigns that are there, and let's just get this information. We want the block number, the ID, the punc index. You see this is point and click. It just designs the GraphQL query for you, and then we send the query and we see the data we get back. So we can really start filtering. We could do ordering, we could do order direction, but we can get a lot of creative queries built right through this area. We could see historical queries that we've made. We could favorite queries. There's a lot of fun stuff we could do. And this is, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I see that like we are just running query here, right?
Yep.
To get the results back instantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. And
how
we're
does
only
this
getting the
help?
data from this amount that's been indexed. It's not all the way to chain head, as we could see.
Yeah.
So we're just running test queries right now. We're not, we're seeing what's through here. If there's some events here that we're looking for, we're not going to have them in these queries just yet. We're only doing queries on what we have. Yeah.
I see. I see. So like
Yep.
we are what kind of like real world stuff would dev use? They would use this data for inside the
Yeah.
app.
Great question. So let's say I want to know the transfers, because transfers are important. Like who transferred at what time and how much? Those are good
Yeah.
questions. Essentially, this is a time to think of questions of what you want to ask the smart contract, kind of like shift your brain and worldview. Because before we were looking at getting the data. We now have the data. The data is here. Now, what do you want from that data? And that's the shift where you go into the query language of GraphQL. So we're thinking, all right, well, I want the first 10, and we'll get the ID. This is the ID of the actual entity. Remember, we're sending a query to the database, and we want to get the first 10 sales, I guess. All right, so we'll get the from and the to, and then we'll get the block timestamp, basically like earliest possible. And we want the first 10, and we will have the order by, not the ID, but the block timestamp. All right. So then for the order direction, we'll have it be, make the screen a little bigger. There we go. Not ascending, but descending. And then that'll start with the highest block timestamp and go down. And so that'll be the most recent. This is here. And then we'll do ascending. We'll start with the lowest. And there we go. So this is the first punk transfer of all time right here. This one's from and to. And so we know all of that, which is great. We can get the punk index. And because I know the smart contract a little bit, the punk index itself is actually the number of the punk. So we could say, hey, this is punk 8138. This was the very first punk that was ever transferred between two people. So that's really cool. Like we could start, diving into that. The punk transfers, I believe this entity itself has the amount. Does it have the amount? Yes, it has value in there. So we could actually see, hey, do we want the actual value of this in there? That'd be cool. Let's see the ID of the entity, the from, the to, and the value. And let's order by the value. Let's see the most valuable one, and we'll order direction by, let's see, the most affordable transfer ever was value of 1. And descending, let's see, the highest value, it's still value. So I might be wrong here. This is all coming from chain. So whatever value is, I thought that was value of the actual transfer, but apparently it's 1 regardless. So there's something coming from the chain that is always 1. This is where it helps to be in this location as a developer, where you are deeply understanding the smart contract, because all the database knows is just this naming conventions right here. This is all the database knows. If you know the smart contract as well, you're able to go back and say, well, what is, value? Let's go to the CryptoPunks. Where are we here? etherscan.io. And we'll go to CryptoPunks. And just understanding the smart contract itself does so well in part of your development of this is a cool moment. I developed a little CLI tool that can actually work to do exactly what I'm trying to do right now. Let's see if it actually works. I'm developing it right now. But essentially what I'm trying to do is see how we have this smart contract right here, all of that. Let's see if this runs. If it doesn't run on live, I apologize, but this is live coding. It's called Canna dash A, and then drop in the smart contract. There we go. It's working. So I do this all the time because I'm always going back from Etherscan to, or whatever block explorer, back and forth between the subgraph, and I'm always like, I want this data right here in the terminal, so I could say, hey, what's going on? And I just literally dropped in the smart contract address right there. And this is me shouting out to my own development, which I'm proud of. Canna is the smart contract analyzer. So Canna dash A, which is analyze, and then you just drop in a smart contract address. And if you want to go through the Canna setup, I've only configured this for Ethereum, but you could add other block explorers into here and get essentially verified smart contract data directly into your contracts analyzed. You can get it right into here. And so you could get some data. You get the ABI from the smart contract. You can get the event kind of summary of the smart contract. And you could also get the entirety of the smart contract itself. And this is sometimes, I'm always going back and forth, like, where's the smart contract? Where's the smart contract? I just did my own use case on a live stream. I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah.
I developed this a few weeks ago. So it's like, this is really cool. So it's a personal moment for me. But essentially, we get the entirety of the smart contract right here. And if I wanted to go through and say, hey, like, why, when we'll do 03, we'll do, why not 3 points, not 3.7. I like, what's your favorite model? This is a good question. I'll do 3.7. What was the question? Why, not why, but please analyze the value property of the transfers event and tell me how it's built. So this is, if you're developing smart contracts, if you're trying to analyze smart contracts, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with this. And so let's see, let's stop and contract source. There it is. And so I'd highly recommend if you're doing smart contract analysis, it helps me out a lot. Kind of smart contract analysis. This is the Twitter post I put about it. And there it is, contract analyzer. So I'll drop this in the chat. Did this a few weeks ago, and I'm pretty proud of it because I did that in a live stream and I saw a use case. So where is the chat? I'll drop this in chat right here for you. And so now, here we go. In all cases, the value parameter is hard-coded as 1. So now we know. And we can keep on building moving forward from that. So basically, like thinking a subgraph is you're right in between the smart contract and the front end all the time. And so understanding smart contracts is very helpful. Understanding databases is helpful. Understanding query language is helpful. You really learn a lot when you're a subgraph developer. And if you have any questions, that's why I'm here. But I'll just stop right there and see if there's any other questions that you might have before we keep on going.
Yeah, another question now.
Mm-hmm. No questions right now?
Yeah, but just giving you the hats on that we have like 10 more minutes.
Sure. Sure. We can go a little bit longer because we moved up to 11:30, so we can go beyond an hour unless there's a hard stop in an hour.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, so right now we have everything we need to start getting data to our front end. We have queries that we can design. We have the database right here, and we have endpoints that are available right here. We have an endpoint. And should we want to go ahead and use curl, we have that right here. We have React, Next.js. This is all built out for us to just basically drop in to our front end and say, hey, do we have a React front end, or really any node, Vue or whatever? We have Next.js right here. We can just drag and drop or copy paste directly into our front end the exact queries that we're designing, which is pretty cool. And should we want to publish to the Graph network, essentially saying, hey, we are wanting to make this decentralized and take away rate limiting, we can go ahead and do that. The publishing is right here. It goes to the Graph network. That's where you start using GRT, you start using the token. Everything here that we've done so far is free. And should you want to, go ahead and keep on developing here and using this endpoint, that's great. The rate limit of this free endpoint is 3,000 queries a day. So if that works with development for hackers, for just getting started, totally go ahead and build with that. Nothing wrong with that. And if you are ready, let's say there's many versions you've published, let's say version 0.01, not published, but deployed here locally. Let's say you are here and we make a quick update to the subgraph. We will go to not the contracts, but here we'll just simply make a small update just for the sake of saying, hey, we made an update. We'll go, let's get rid of that. We'll change the start block from 5 to 6. Let's pretend that's a new feature or something like that we've done. We'll do CD into the Metis subgraph and then yarn deploy. And, we got to do, it's the same mistake I did last time. Graph code gen and graph build. There we go. It's going to take that new feature that we've put in there. And then we'll do yarn deploy and version 0.0.2. And so, this is interesting. Demo graph code gen. Please work. There we go. Graph build. Compile. And then yarn deploy. Interesting. We got the first one going. Sometimes IPFS is having issues, and that's just the nature of things. Yeah, IPFS is having issues today. I will report this. Yep. Failed to upload to IPFS. That is what we're getting. So that is the nature of things, unfortunately. In a live demo situation, I'll report to my team right away. But essentially, that is a subgraph, and we are having a good time with building that. I'll leave a few minutes here for questions if there's any from you or from anyone in the community.
Yeah, guys, feel free to drop any questions related to graph, related to this particular workshop that we have done. And in general, if you have any questions related to graph or Metis, feel free to drop down in the comment section. This is the right time and right chance to feel free to grab this chance. And we have the Marcus today with us.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
And if anything, I'm just thankful for getting to meet you and then hopping on here. This has been really nice, and I look forward to helping you and developers in Metis get going with this piece of technology. The technology is pretty cool. I mean, you're able to be
yeah,
very customizable. If you're needing something super, basic, this can do that. This is able to get events, and that just run the CLI. Don't need to go into subgraph development, just get the events and you get them in a database and go from there. If you're desiring more customizability, that's where we're going to go into next workshop, where there are a lot of customizable options that you could have with a subgraph, and we'll play around with that next time.
yeah. So we do have a question. Any plans on core
Oh,
core?
ICP, I see that. Internet
Yeah,
Computer Protocol.
ICP.
Yeah.
I
So
yeah,
yeah, I am unaware of any currently, but I mean, we literally are onboarding chains every single week. So I can't keep
yeah.
track.
Like we are
I've been in the
always
ecosystem for 4 years,
exploring.
always integrating, always integrating, always integrating. So
Yeah,
if there's a desire to integrate, please hop on to the Graph forum and begin chatting there, because you're talking with the team that is responsible for integrations, and they love chatting about integrating. So please hop onto the forum. That's where a lot of my coworkers are all the time.
yeah. Like we are in the field. Like we are always exploring, and what makes sense for developers and users. We are
Mhm.
always exploring and integrating things, right? So
Always, always,
yeah.
always. I need a nice Metis background like Metis. Ah!
For the
That's
in the
funny. That's
next
funny.
workshop for sure.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny. My buddy, my best friend, he's in the other room right over there. He actually works in film, and I'm like in this. I'm in a relatively small office, and I'm like, how do I make this any better? And he just got this lighting set up put for me today, or not today, but a few days ago. And this is where we're at. And eventually, I might get some like something here, but there's this is the big old piece of cloth
So
that I have now.
yeah.
This is all I got right now today.
Yeah, no, you'll get for in the next workshop for sure. Yeah,
Yes, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, well, if there's any questions, I'll drop my Twitter in chat.
yeah,
Feel free to follow me, and more than happy to. I'm apparently not able to share things in chat, but maybe you can, Nidhi. And
yes,
yeah,
definitely.
feel free to reach out. And I'll also be here
Mhm.
next week to go over more advanced features of subgraphs and really just tinker around.
Yep. So I think if no one has the questions from the audience, then that's a wrap. Huge thanks you to Marcus for joining us today and um, walking us through the power of subgraphs and like how the graph makes blockchain data like so much more accessible. Like it's always inspiring to see how much easier life gets. For the devs, especially once they are starting indexing the right way, right? So
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us today and walking us through all the uh, mostly the basic things for the indexing for the
yeah,
subgraph. And to everyone who tuned in, thank you for your valuable time as well and your questions, especially the moment and your energy. Whether you are just exploring or already building with Marys, we hope today you gave, like we gave you some clarity and inspiration to dive deeper. And we will drop all the links and related to the GitHub repo and the um, Twitter handle of the Marcus.
mhm,
Um, in the chat we have in the chat, as well as we will be dropping the blog post related to the live stream. So feel free to explore the blog post as well. Later we will be probably posting it on the next week, early on the next week. So keep the momentum going on. Until the next time, stay curious, stay building, and we'll see you around in the Metis ecosystem and on the next week again with the graph, where we are going to be the guest there, I guess, and we will
Mhm.
have the another graph workshop
Correct.
probably end of this month. So feel free to drop your questions, your feedback, your suggestions to your Merit's Telegram community account or on the Twitter handle as well.
Yes.
Till
Awesome.
then, till then, thank you so much one more time, all of you, to tune in, and thanks Marcus to have to showcasing us the interesting workshop today.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
see
thank you
you
so much,
all.
Nidhi.
Yeah, see you all, guys. Bye. Take care.
Bye bye.